Here it is at last, the Helios Tarot forecast for the month, or Tarot Horoscope drawn specifically for your astrological zodiac sign. I'm B.R. Newman, in case you didn't know that already. Check out my website, IamHelios.com, through the link below, and consider everything that I have to offer there. Consider signing up to receive any number of the personal readings that I offer, or consider signing up to take a course. The choice is yours. There's a lot to explore there. Also consider checking out Annie Botticelli's Storyteller forecasts to see the astrological side of everything you're going to see here. It's fascinating, I promise. So, okay, I guess we'll just jump right into it. So here it is, Cancer, your 5-card tarot spread for the month of November. This is a kind of condensed Golden Dawn spread, which uses 15 cards. In this case, through this Helios spread, I use 5 to the same effect. We have a central theme, 2 dimensional timeline options you can choose from, past section and a fate section. Your central theme, the Lust card, Major Arcana card, heavy-hitting, high-gravity card, is all about passion. It's about taming the beast, triumphing over basic, petty desires with higher reasoning, higher morality, etc. So obviously this is something that is required of you this month, thus reducing the overall story arc of this entire spread to a very simple concept: personal discipline. So to get a sense of what precisely this tarot spread is speaking to, reflect upon your life and figure out the areas that you might be a little bit excessive, the areas that you give in to temptation a little too frequently, a little too fully. Those are the areas that need some shoring up, need a little discipline and refinement. So you're going to be faced with some temptations this month, very likely. So we see that reflected here in these 2-dimensional timeline options. So when considering the importance of personal discipline and triumphing over basic and petty desires through your central theme, it makes sense that the 6 of Cups, often called the card of pleasure, is likely the path of temptation, whereas the 4 of Swords, often called the card of truce, is the path of moderation, restriction, and discernment. Now, offhand, if I were to see these 2-dimensional timelines, I would suggest taking the 6 of Cups simply because it feels better. It's much more fun, it's much more interesting usually. It's just an enriching energy to engage. However, when juxtaposed with the 4 of Swords, and within the context of the Lust card, through which it is suggested that something is in need of being managed, tempered, refined, or simply restricted, the 6 of Cups then represents something of an excessive nature, and by default, kind of embodies that beast to be tamed in the Lust card. And this kind of restriction is not without purpose. It's not for the sake of itself, and it's certainly not to suggest that you should become somewhat of a Puritan, but rather it merely suggests that there are areas of your life that could use a little moderation, a little more attention, a little more responsibility maybe, and that through that practiced discipline you'll actually be able to harness the energy represented by that beast. Harness that raw potential force that you can use to create wonderful things for you and for others. You know, just kind of making your life far better by amping up your capacity for presence, integrity, and really overall balance and health. Of course, it could be suggested that what is occurring here through the central theme is that this kind of balance has already been achieved. However, due to the fact that the 2 of Swords is in your fate section, the 2 being the reduced form of the 4 of Swords, it is implied that you are essentially backstepping away from the Swords suit, which is often inherently problematic. So, very simply, by willingly adopting the 4 of Swords way of living at this point in your life, you will then be implying, or by default, be activating this reversal of the Swords energy, because the 2 of Swords does come up in your fate section, so you would then be moving from the 4 to the 2, and then what happens after that, according to the pattern, you step right out of the Swords suit. So, by taking the 6 of Cups path, on the other hand, by giving in to the temptation, whatever it might be, it's entirely up to you to discover the specifics you require, since this is a general reading applying to everyone who shares your sun sign. When the 2 of Swords does actualize, it comes forth as a standalone force, which in turn activates the forward motion, the forward momentum of the Swords suit, which implies then the 3, then the 4, then the 5, then the 6, all the way through the 10. And there's a lot of risk in that. So the idea is to intentionally step back from conflict, and this must be achieved now through your intentional activation of the 4 of Swords. And of course you want to activate the highest expression or the highest form of this 4 of Swords, simply giving it a rest, allowing yourself to recover, manage your addictions, exercise the greatest levels of discipline you're capable of at this time. Something is ready to be healed through the 4 of Swords, and also through the Lust card, something is wanting to be tamed and directed and harnessed. All 4s in tarot are associated with Spherith number 4 on the Tree of Life, which is a kind of healing energy. It's mercy and benevolence. It's a force that repairs the world. And as I'm sure you may have heard me say in other videos, the swords always come with a warning. which in this case, the Four of Swords often would have a promise that you would then move into the 5 and would have been coming out of the 3. Both the 3 and the 5 are quite dramatic and are rich with conflict and so on. But in this case, since you have a very clear stepping back from the 4 to the 2, which are two benefic manifestations of the sword suit, then you're avoiding all of that conflict, you're avoiding all of that potential for drama, and are simply stepping out of harm's way. By choosing the 6 of Cups path, that 2 of Swords actualizes in your fate, and then that would then certainly be rich with warning, because that would ensure that you were then going to move into the 3 and then into the 4, which implies forward motion through the sword suit with all of its drama. So the best thing to do here is to intentionally activate that 4 of Swords so that when the 2 does come around, you're moving backwards through the sword suit and eventually out of the sword suit. Away from needless drama, away from conflict, away from addiction, away from temptation, and that then would be the simplified form of precisely that which is asked for here in the central theme through the Lust card, taming the beast. So the question for some might then be, have you earned this kind of opportunity? And the card in your past section says, certainly, yes, absolutely. You have the 7 of Wands there. All 7s in tarot are associated with Sphirth number 7 on the Tree of Life, which has to do with a kind of test. And it seems that you have passed that test, now being faced with this rich opportunity. So this test, as manifest through fire, or through wands in this case, is a test of courage, as if an illusion of some kind of certainty of destruction or ruin has been staring you down, against which you have stood with courage and with faith, staring it right back, claiming your right to carry on, your will to succeed, and a kind of trust. So that little test, in whatever way it manifested in your life, is what has allowed this opportunity to blossom, so take advantage of it. So then, of course, you have to consider what it is that the temptation might take the form of. And that would be very difficult for me unless, of course, I had your personal information from here and we were considering astrological influences or whatever it might be, but it could be very easy for you. Are you a comfort eater? Do you turn to drugs, alcohol in times of stress? Do you find often that you are kind of emotionally dependent on others? Tendencies of this nature are often pretty easy to see in your own life. So you have some rich potential here for tremendous growth in those specific areas. And I think that in this month and in the months to come, you'll be faced with plenty of circumstances that enable you to demonstrate discipline. And of course, the importance of this kind of demonstration is not that you're demonstrating to anyone else that needs to see, but rather you're demonstrating this to yourself so that you can feel exponentially capable of taming this beast within as you go along. So that about wraps this up for the month. Thank you so much for listening to this and for watching. Please do consider contacting me for a personal reading of any kind. You can check out everything that I have to offer on my website, IamHelios.com. You can also sign up for a master course I have available there. Whatever you choose, we can take this incredibly far and deep. You can gain so much from our work together, as many people have already. I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks again.